everybody. This is Sherry Winn, host of the Olympic Minds Leadership Beyond Limits. This is a podcast for the leader of leaders, the visionary of visionaries, for leaders who really want to go beyond success into significance and from mediocrity to mastery. This is not theory. The stuff we're going to talk about today, that comes from real people who've done real things. So it's grit tested, heart proven, and results driven. So I'm Sherry Winn, two-time Olympian, national championship basketball coach, CEO of the Winning Leadership Company, author of about 5 leadership books. I'm saying about because I think another one's coming out soon. I know another one's coming out soon. And today we're going to talk to my great friend, Amy Riley. And I met Amy several years ago. We had an immediate connection. Yes. We don't think exactly alike, but we have a lot of leadership philosophy that's in tune. And she's a speaker, author, coach, and podcaster. Listen, she's one of those people that you absolutely want to know in your company and to have her come into your company, because she's the kind of person who totally understands and gets down to the root of the issue and can help you move forward. So Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, Sherry, thank you for having me on the podcast today. Just in what you said, it reminds me of how much I enjoy connecting with you. You're inspiring and you're also practical. Let's get to the real stuff. So yeah, I'm Amy Riley with The Courage of a Leader. I've been doing this leadership development thing for decades. And I realized every time a leader truly impressed me, they were demonstrating courage in that moment. So I like to talk about how do we show up and be those courageous leaders for one another.
I love that. I love your, let's get on. Let's do it. Let's give the real stuff here. And so I know we're talking about, before we got on, you talked about a new clarity package that you had put together. Because if we don't have that clarity, we're in chaos. If we're in chaos, we're in confusion. Confusion drives procrastination. That drives us to inaction. So tell us a little bit about your clarity project that you have going on.
Thank you, Sherry. Yes. Like you, I've been hearing from leaders, and we're all in this mucky, ambiguous, everybody's in a debate, things are changing. And it's like, how do we ground our teams? How do we inspire? How are we sure that the direction we're picking today is the direction we're still going in tomorrow? And yeah, we need to, and there are things that need to be in flux and we need to respond quickly. How do we have our teams not feel ourselves and our teams not feel battered inside of this? So yes, I'm putting together what I'm calling the Clarity Kit. It'll be a low-cost offer that will be available soon. And I'm happy to share a couple of the practices with your listening audience here. One of them is name what's known.
Ooh. Okay.
So it can be really easy to focus on what we don't know and what's changing and, what policies are going to be shifting come tomorrow, come next week. But what do we know? And that could be, what do you know about your own commitment? What do you know about your team's skill set? Can you say, whatever happens, right? We're going to take care of our customers as best as we can inside of this, right? So what do you know? What can you ground yourself in? And then the other practice I would share is center the humans.
Ooh.
We can get so worried about what's the policy? What's going to be the change? How do we react to this? How do we need to change our strategy? How do we need to change our processes? What are the messaging? Center the humans. How are they feeling? What are they concerned about? Right? Let them know what value they bring, right? No matter what happens, we rely on you for your critical thinking, right? Or you can always inspire those around us, or you can build the relationships quickly that we're going to need, even if we need to play with a new set of players here. Just really connect with the human beings inside of the situation.
I love starting with what's known. I love that. Starting with what's known, because then all of a sudden you're getting your power back. We're focusing on what's known versus what's unknown. Unknown is something that we don't have any control, power, understanding, right? But if we start here, like you mentioned, we're grounding ourselves. We're getting into the space where we know something. And I also love that idea that you said, we ought to know what we know about ourselves. We've got to
Yeah.
to really bring those forth. I mean, am I good at solving problems? Can I make complex problems into simple problems? Am I somebody who is inspirational, motivational? Like, am I a lifelong learner? Sometimes we forget those pieces. And if we forget those pieces and we don't keep them at the top of our mind, we go back to, it's really hard. I don't get this. I feel confused, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sherry, I have seen a leader do this, a very senior leader in sales. And this was in an organization where they were completely changing their strategy and their client-facing engagements, just how all of that worked. And there was so much anxiety coming into this room. The team was getting together for an offsite. And she sat there and said, there's some things that I don't know, right? We're going to have to figure this out together. But what I do know is that, when she's looking at people in the room, we've got this skill set and this skill set and this strength and this experience, right? And we are going to use that, and collectively we're going to figure this out. Is it going to be bumpy? Are we going to make mistakes? Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
But I believe in this team. Oh, you could see everyone in the room shift. And that was the theme throughout the day.
Right. So I love this because one of the things I would do a lot when I was coaching college basketball. So I also do that now, but it's transferable. So one of the things I would do is oftentimes we would sit down and I would go, okay, here's what we're going to do. I give everybody these pieces of paper and I say, what you're going to do is you're going to write down, you're not going to share with anybody else yet. I want you to write down the strengths. So to everybody in this room. So you're going to give one slip of paper to every single person. Right? And you're just going to write one thing. You don't need a paragraph. You don't need a novel, but I want you to write that thing that you see in that person. I want you to find something really special about the person that you think nobody else is going to write about. And you're going to put it on a slip of paper. And then everybody had like a baggie in front of them. So at the end of this, they put that in the person's baggie, right?
Love it.
And then people would get to read these powers, like their power, which they've forgotten about. Because this is the thing, is we forget we're so good at telling ourselves the things we're not good at, and we hammer on those. But when we bring our power back into what we know is true about ourselves, then we're no longer in the unknown, because the known is always going to be, this is true about me. I know that even though sometimes I'm ready to lay it out, I'm like, this is it, I'm done. And I know also that I'll go, tomorrow, I'm ready to come back.
You cannot help but be resilient, Sherry. But I love that, right? And because it can be easy to dismiss our strengths. They're just a part of us. They're how we show up. They're how we do things. We sometimes assume that they're how other people do things, but to have that reflected back. I've even done an exercise, we've called it the gift, at the end of a 2-day or 4-day leadership development program together, for them to give like a symbolic gift to another person that is indicative of their strengths. And wow, just in my interactions over this couple of days, this is what people saw in me, and this is how I contributed to them.
I love that
we don't spend enough time there in our world.
We got to remember the gifts. Like, we have to remember our gifts, and so we want to celebrate. And so one of the people I listen to on podcasts used to end with this, being joyful in the unknowing, right? No matter what happens, is that we know that we can still be joyful in it. That I can be joyful in the unknowing of that. But that is conscious effort daily.
Yes.
To remind ourselves of the good things that we have. And we're so wired to be negative. We're wired in that, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and 96 or 95%, I don't know, I've heard different things, we keep saying, repeat thoughts, right? We keep thinking the same thoughts unless we intentionally intervene. And so as a leader, you can't get in the minds of your people, but you can do, like you said, doing the retreat and doing something that reminds people of their power, and to keep bringing that back again and again and again.
Yes, yes. Well, Sherry, today, if we let our inner joyfulness, our being, how we're showing up, be totally dictated by the results and the news around us, we're going to be miserable every day. I mean, open up your web browser. I mean, you can see tons of stories that you don't want to see and that are going to make you feel not so great about what's going on. Who do we want to be regardless of the results that are showing up over there? And by the way, we're more likely to get the results that we want if we're in a belief that I bring strengths, I have the possibility to influence. There might be, maybe they can see this in a new way, right? And then we will take actions that might lead to different results.
Well, you can't take actions are coming from your belief system.
Yes.
Right. And so it's hard to take an action if it's not in alignment with your belief system. And that's why it's so important to, consistently work on your belief system to ferret out the things that are not in alignment with what you want. And sometimes we think we're in alignment with what we want because we want it. Like that's like that. Oh, I'm in alignment because I want it. No. What are the internal thoughts that you have that are in opposition to what you want? So when you're coaching people, how do you go about helping them discover those, Amy?
Yes. Asking them to talk about the situation, right? Their thoughts and feelings on it. And what are the facts, the seemingly neutral thoughts on the situation, right? And then begin to categorize those as what are the thoughts that are empowering? What are the thoughts and beliefs that are disempowering? Right? Because we might want something, but it feels like they are never going to be on board with it, or it is a long shot. Well, if we keep thinking that it's a long shot, then it's going to be really easy for us to procrastinate that, right? Like, why should I try? It's going to be such a long shot. All of this could be wasted effort, right? But even shifting those beliefs slightly to, why can't it be me?
Right.
Right? Maybe, or I'm definitely not going to get it if I don't try.
Well, yeah. Like it's so amazing. And I think it's the mindfulness piece. So bringing in that mindfulness piece that a lot of people don't practice, just being mindful of your own thoughts. I mean, we allow our thoughts to dictate to us what we're going to think. Very few people go, wait a second, like that's a crazy thought. Why would I want to think that thought? Like that's insane. I don't want to live in that thought. I want to live in a better thought. But it's that mindfulness. So when you're talking about mindfulness to, like you said, this is kind of a harder thing, I think, if you're doing a retreat. Now, maybe you practice, maybe you got it. I don't have it yet. I don't have that skill set yet to get to a whole group. But to like individuals, the mindfulness piece, how do you help them acquire the ability to be mindful? Because I think that's where everything starts, right? It starts with self-awareness. It starts with really understanding who you are, how you think, how you show up. How do you help people cultivate the mindfulness piece?
Yeah. One thing to raise awareness is similar to what I said about coaching individuals is having a group say, what are all of your assumptions? What's true? What are your obstacles? What are you up against? And to pull all of that out and then get into like, is that true? Right? The product development cycle takes 6 months. Okay, well, we're all kind of believing the product development cycle takes 6 months now. Does it have to? So sometimes those seemingly neutral things become disempowering beliefs or assumptions in the space. So raising that awareness, like, oh, not everybody thinks these same things that I do. Or, ooh, is that an assumption we're collectively making? Could we shift that? So kind of getting in front of them some evidence that it's good for us to pay attention to the thoughts and beliefs running through our heads. Right. And then having them create, like, what are some practices that we can use ongoingly to surface the thoughts, to surface the assumptions? And then I think also practices to slow down. Right. So slow down, do some visualization work together. Like, what's the ideal? Or like, what are all the worst things that could happen? You don't want to stay there too long.
No.
But it can be good. Like, our concerns give us good information. We don't want to wallow in them, but we want to look at them in an empowering way. Are you serving me? Right? Is there anything to do about this? Maybe there's not. But then how do we minimize its impact?
Yeah, when you said to develop a product takes 6 months, and then all of a sudden, every single person is going to do whatever they can to make it get to 6 months, whether that's
Right.
slowing it down, right? I mean, we think about it speeding up, but it could be slowing it down because, it's supposed to take 6 months. And so it's looking at those belief systems that somebody else did it, right? Somebody else said, it takes 6 months, and all these companies have agreed, like, we've looked at this research. And then once we believe something to be true, it is absolutely true. Like, that has become the truth of what we say.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing to look at it and go, well, what's the truth? Like, what do we believe to be true? Because there's, a truth, and there's right.
Well, and
you
possibility thinking. Like, let's say we could do it in half the time.
Mhm.
Let's say we could do it in 3 months.
Right.
If that were true, what else would need to be true?
I love it. Yeah, this is kind of off of, I remember reading a book, Byron Katie's. Did you read Byron Katie's The Work?
Oh,
And
I have not read the book. I've seen some of her worksheets and such.
Right. And so the
Online,
first question she goes is it true? I mean, it's her very first question, is it true? And we always go, yes, like we know, like, is it true? And it's really not true. It's something that we've said so many times that we have a belief about it that it's true. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It's just that we have the belief that makes it true. And so examining that, I think that's beautiful work that you do with companies and helping them get through some of those, belief systems that need to be crushed so that you can go innovate and create, and so that you can, all of a sudden you're ahead of all the other companies doing this thing, and they're wondering what are you doing? And you're like, the bottom line is you're thinking differently. Like, that's the key. Right?
Yes. What you just said made me think of something else, Sherry. When we have something that we believe is true, right? It's our perspective, it's our bias, it's our whatever you want to call it. Look for counter evidence.
Ooh.
Because naturally, our brains are often working against us.
Oh,
right? Our brains are in survival mode, right? Like, don't go do that. Don't take that risk, Sherry. Right? That might not work. That might fail. So please don't go do that. Right? So our brains can be giving us thoughts that can hold us back. Our brains are also dealing with so many pieces of information. It's streamlining. It's saying, oh, this new piece of evidence, this new thing that I see, that looks like this over here from my past. So I'm going to file that here. And it's making assumptions and stories really quickly about the information. So you can probably find evidence to back up a lot of perspectives.
Right. And so
what's the counter evidence?
Yeah, what you just said, though, one of the things you said is like we have these categorization. Woo, big word, long word. So we categorize things based on our past.
Yeah.
Right. So the truth is we have no neutral thoughts. Like, there are no such thing as neutral thoughts. And most of those thoughts come from the past. And so we reach back into the past of some similar experience.
Yes.
Right. And we bring that into the now. And so if it's a good past experience, great, because then we're like, oh, I can get through this because I've gotten through this before and I can move forward. But if it's from something in the past that we categorize as a failure, this was a failure, this was pain, this was suffering, I don't want to go back to that ever, then all of a sudden we've created that storyline from our past. I mean, it's really, really hard to think that we're thinking the future because everything is connected to a past thought.
Exactly, Sherry, exactly. So it can be hard to keep up on all of those thoughts and beliefs and where we're categorizing them in our brains, which made me think, if something new comes into our world and we're associating it with something bad from our past, so it makes our heart rate increase, or makes our neck hot, or it makes our foot jittery, sometimes tuning into those physical sensations can help give us a trigger of, oh, what was that thought that just came in that made me jittery, or gave me some kind of physical reaction? oh, I'm assuming this is going to go bad because
Yep.
this is like such and such situation.
Yeah. And I think that the whole key is like, can you feel it? Can you stop for a second and feel what you just thought?
Nice.
Because
Nice.
there was something I learned a long time ago, and I really believe this is true, which is a lie feels heavy. So if you're telling yourself a story and that story's a lie, even though you don't know it's a lie. So let's say I said, I'm not smart enough. How does that feel? Well, it feels heavy. Like I just said that, and I was like, I could feel it in my gut. Like my gut went, my heart. And I was like, so that's going to be a lie because the truth feels lighter.
Ah.
Right. And so when we're saying things to ourselves, if it's heavy, it's not the external, it's not the bigger truth, right? It's a truth that we think about ourselves. It's not really a truth.
Great.
So if I say I'm not smart enough, but you look back at my GPA, and then I was valedictorian in my college and a 4.0 student, then that would go, well, that's really not in alignment. Like you want to live this story for some reason. You want to live this story. So,
that's a great signal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got so much work that you've done with companies. So when a company calls you, right, and they say, hey, we need your help, Amy. So what is it that you kind of walk through the steps so companies understand like what you're going to say to them, how you're going to help them get clarity. So if you're talking to a company and you're like, yes, let's talk more. What's your first steps? I mean, is it the first step you talked about your clarity kit, or is there something else that you do to help them gain more clarity? Where do you start? Just so companies know, like, oh man, I want to talk to Amy Riley because she made a lot of sense. Where do you start? What's the starting point?
I'm going to start with asking questions. I'm going to start with asking questions, and clients have told me that they learn through that inquiry process.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to waste anybody's time and feel like, oh my gosh, I have to know exactly what city all your locations are in and blah, blah, like I have to gather like some certain checklist of information before we can start talking solutions or things to do. But in the kinds of questions that I'm asking, right, it's pointing towards what's possible. Where do you want things to be? What metrics do you want to influence? How do you want performance to look different? What are your leaders doing today that's great and awesome and you're excited and you're proud about it? What are your leaders doing today? It's falling short. And what's going on in your organization? And I like to partner with my clients.
Right.
Co-create.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they have to know, like, if they don't know this stuff, like, this is why they're contacting you, right? They're not clear. Oh, they haven't done the work. There goes my dogs. Anyway, so it's really about, because you give them value. Even if they don't hire you, you've already given them value, right? And so because you're helping them understand what they're doing, you probably wouldn't be surprised at the number of people who call me and they're saying, hey, we want you to come speak. And I say, okay, like, let's pretend that the speech is over. I mean, after we talk about whatever they want. And I said, I want you to help me. What would make it a great fit for you?
Yeah.
Let's start from backwards. Go, well, I don't know. Well, what do you want your people to say? What do you want them to do differently as a result? Let's start there. And the number of people go, well, I haven't thought about that. I'm like, well, okay, we need to think about that. Let's think about that so that you can get a real clear idea. So when I come off the stage and people are coming to me and saying things like, you want them to say, that was awesome, that was energizing, like what you said has really empowered me. I'm going to take away this point and do it tomorrow. But you've got to know what you want. And I think a lot of people, I mean, just companies, people, events, whatever you call, haven't gotten that clarity because they haven't taken time to think it through. And that's why they are where they are, by the way, right? Because they haven't taken the time. I mean, you could ask, if you just started asking questions, right? Anybody that has a problem in their area, if they would stop and start asking questions.
Yes.
Just good questions, not, hey, like, what's going on? Not a good question.
What's important here? What do we ideally want? What would success look like? I mean, whatever the project or the underperformance or whatever it is that's coming across your plate. Yeah. I mean, I think often with coaching, Sherry, the biggest value we're giving people is time, dedicated time on their calendars to reflect and to process and to plan and to dream.
Mm-hmm. So if so I have a little note before I get on with the call. It's like, listen. That's what it says is listen.
Yeah.
Because when they say it, then it's 10 times more meaningful than when I say it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where the empowerment comes from.
Yes.
This is kind of a funny story that I developed chronic pain when I was 35, and I went to,
yes, I know.
I don't know, 17 different medical professionals, had every test known to mankind, and I ended up in this kind of alternative medicine thing, right?
Okay.
So they would just ask me questions, and I was so frustrated with them. I was so frustrated because I'd be like, I want you to fix me. Like that was my thinking. Like, I'm going to give you all my power. You fix me.
Yeah.
And they would just ask me more questions. And it was so infuriating at the beginning because I didn't think I had any of the answers. Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was powerful. It was very powerful work. And at the end, I love these people because they had this patience. They had this silence in between, asking me and just waiting. Wow. If I got angry, which was often because when you're in pain, you're angry. When I was angry, they, it's just like they just kept sitting there. Wow. It wasn't, they knew until I was ready, the answers weren't going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the power of being a coach is you have to think about how can I help this person rather than I know all the answers. And that's true of a leader too, right?
Absolutely. You have me thinking about the power of the coaching approach with a leader. I mean, we are programmed to solve problems and give people answers. But how powerful when that team member, that colleague comes to a leader and says, I need to know about what to do with XYZ. If that leader would start asking questions in that moment. Right? What's the goal? What's the objective? What does success look like? What have you already tried?
Yep,
what's working? What other ideas do you have? Right? And if they're good, like really overwhelmed, you eventually get to what's your first step? Right? And now you're developing that thinking and that engagement. And now when we give them the answer, okay, great, they can go off and do it. When they come up with the solution, the answer, there's a different level of commitment and engagement there.
Absolutely. That's the empowerment, right? And if you give them the answer, how many times they come back? I mean,
then they want the next answer.
All the time, right? This is like, your kid coming home from school and saying, Mom, I need some help with some homework. And you go, okay, honey. And then you go do the homework for them. And then pretty soon you have your second high school degree and they're going off to college. You've got any capacity to do it, right?
Right.
So how did you get into this whole, you give us a little bit more background about you, Amy, because I know you didn't start off as, the courage of the leader, this kind of coaching, consulting work that you do. Where did you start? I mean, how did you get into this piece?
Yeah. It sounds like I'm going back a ways, but I'll just give you a few snippets along the journey. One was I noticed myself as an elementary school student, kind of assessing what my teachers were doing. Oh, and I was thinking in my head, when I'm a teacher, I'll do that. Oh, when I'm a teacher, I don't know that worked really well. These kids aren't involved. But I was already tuning into how do you engage the room? How do you get people learning and active? But then I thought, I don't want to be a teacher. Why am I having these thoughts? So set that aside. And then one of my first companies I was working at, I didn't even know about talent development as a career, as a thing. But they used, any employee could help facilitate their core customer focused curriculum. And I volunteered to do that, right? As a 22-year-old in the workplace, I'm like, yes, I'm going to facilitate training. I wasn't afraid of it for some reason. And then we were doing a reorganization of our sales and service organization. And I was involved on a number crunching side. I was supposed to be doing BPI numbers and outlining the territories, but I kept asking about the people. How are we going to transfer the knowledge? How are we going to train them on this? How is this going to work? Some of these folks are independent contractors. What's the legalities around that? And the person who was in HR and was leading the large-scale change effort was like, I see your facilitation. I hear your questions. I think you want my job. And I'm like, I might. And I started pursuing my master's in talent development with an emphasis in organization development. I did put in for her job when she left, and I got it. And that gave me a real playground as I was in the education. Mm-hmm. I like learning about businesses, and I had the opportunity to work in a couple of companies, very different industries, very different cultures. Right. And I'm like, this is cool. I like learning about different businesses and how they operate. I want to be an external consultant. And at first I thought it was customized learning, any kind of customized learning. I very quickly learned that I care about leaders. We get things done through leadership.
Right.
And when leaders are doing their job well, no one knows what all they're dealing with.
Right.
They're managing up, down, all around.
Yeah, and that's why I think that when we're talking about leaders, like they really need to have support, not from their people. Like they don't need to be fishing for, validation. They don't need to be like, tell me how great I am. I'm talking about when you're at the top, nobody knows. Like because very few people are in your shoes, right? So it feels isolated, it feels lonely. You feel apart from other people. You feel like nobody understands you. So tell me, in that kind of isolation, situation, Amy, how do you help people? How do you help those leaders who are at the top and they feel like I'm alone, like nobody gets me? Like I had a guy yesterday that said to me, you have to understand that being at the top means loneliness. You have to acknowledge that. Like you have to, he said, if you can't acknowledge that, he said, it's just hard because you keep thinking it shouldn't be that way. So what do you do to help those people, to support those people who are really in situations that like you can't get unless you're in it? Like unless you're one of those, you can't get it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the time with their coach is a time where they can feel heard and supported and acknowledged. Yeah. And that's definitely part of my approach. I want to acknowledge what's going great. I want to be the person that acknowledges them when it's not even appropriate, right, for them to ask for that from everybody else. But then looking at who is their support network, right? Who supports them personally? Right. Is there someone professionally? It might be in another company. It might be in another division, right? Like where can they get professional support? And often when you're at the top, that kind of gets parceled out to different people. Here's my person that I go to for this kind of support, or like when I'm having questions about the strategy, I go to this person. And then like, how are they taking care of themselves and refueling themselves? What are their real practices? Do they get out in nature? Do they meditate and practice mindfulness? Do they play racquetball, right? Like they have a glass of wine with friends on Friday night. Like what is it? Because we all have different ways, but making sure that they have ways. Right. Because sometimes it just becomes more and more isolating and and then that becomes a theme throughout your life.
Yeah. And then so you're always just pouring yourself out, but you're not getting fulfilled up. And then at a certain point, that becomes burnout, or that becomes, anger. It turns into anger. It turns into burnout. It turns into a disease. Dis-ease, because you're in that scenario. So really helping people figure out like, what is it that fuels me and how can I move into that refueling, which is, I practice that every day. Like my first 45 minutes when I get up, it's about fueling me. And if I got to fuel me before I help other people, I can't give what I don't have. Right. And I think that a lot of people run on empty. They're running on empty for a long time. And then like a big thing crashes them to the bottom, which is why I think coaching is so important. You need to have that support, even if you're just like, even if they're just you're just listening. Like maybe you're not even. They just need to do this so that somebody else is hearing them and acknowledging what they have to say, what they have to feel. I mean, I think that's so important in what you do and what I do. So Amy, like, if there's something that we haven't talked about that you think, like a question I haven't asked you, or something that's super. Like one of the things that you found over and over again that makes a big difference in the life of a leader, what would that be?
Okay. I'll let your listeners know that you prepare such great questions for your guests to think about ahead of time. And one of them was about legacy And that would be my answer to this question that you're posing right now, Sherry, is I love for every leader, whether you're brand new to leadership, you're an individual contributor, right? But you still can bring your leadership into meetings, into projects, into the work. What is your leadership legacy? That thing that you are continually creating and leaving behind.
Right.
Is it bringing care and compassion? Is it streamlining and simplifying? Is it facilitating solutions? Is it fostering innovation? Is it transparency? Building teams? What is it? And be committed to that, right? And when you see that there's an opportunity, when you see that there's a gap in a meeting, fill that gap with the purpose of your leadership. Which, as maybe this is coming full circle, Sherry, we were talking at the beginning about strengths and passion and what we're innately good at. Your leadership legacy is obviously going to be in that realm of your strengths and what you really care about.
Yeah. When I coached basketball for 23 years, I know coaches get so intense about the skills they teach their players.
Yeah.
The truth of it is, they're going to walk away in 4 years, and if that's all you gave them, that's all they got. So the most important thing to me in terms of a legacy was, what skill set am I giving them that's going to help them forever, right? So it's obviously wasn't going to be dribbling or passing or shooting. That's just not. And so when I get I just got a note from a former player 40 years ago. 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's like reaching out and saying the impact I had on their life. That's legacy. Okay. So when you're a leader, what is it that you want to hear from your people, 10 years down the road, 20, 30, 40, if they reach back out to you, what is it that you want to hear? Because I think it really brings the legacy around. When you get that, when you're thinking that far in advance and you get that note, you get a handwritten note, you get a text message, whatever. I don't know how we're going to do it in the future, hologram or whatever that is.
Yes.
When you get that, what is it that you want to hear from those people? And are you taking those actions daily to reach that? Yeah. Amy, as always, you have so much powerful information that you just shared today. And so I would tell folks, look, if you're looking for somebody to come in to really change your company and to change your leaders, to alter your leaders, because everything starts from leadership. If you don't think it starts from leadership, then you really need to coach, right? But so Amy, tell them all the things that you do and where they can find you, so when they're ready to bring you in, they've got you.
Terrific, Sherry. I am a leadership development consultant. I can work with your organization on how do we develop your leaders. I kind of like figuring out that puzzle of how do we spend the dollars and the time and the euros in the best way possible. Coaching. I'm an author, so you can find the Courage of a Leader book. The Courage of a Leader, How to Inspire, Engage, and Get Extraordinary Results. You can find that at the courageofaleader.com website, or where you buy your books. And I'm also a podcast host, The Courage of a Leader, right? I have exceptional leaders on my podcast. You can find Sherry Winn's episode on The Courage of a Leader, getting at those practical, real leadership techniques that make a difference day to day.
You guys, you've heard from Amy, and you know that she has the right questions. The better question you ask, the better answer you're going to receive, and you know that she's going to bring that to you. And that's where all the we talked about empowerment. She's going to empower you personally if you want to be coached by her, or from your team, organization, whatever you are. This is so important. I think that the way forward is always through coaching. You can read all the books you want, which I always read. And you got to have somebody else that causes you to think, to get outside your own knowledge and awareness. And so Amy can really do that for you. So everybody, thank you for coming on today. Push the subscribe button, come back and revisit, share with your friends, and please share Amy with your friends, because she is the genuine person who's going to help you move into that legacy mode. And everybody have a winning day. Bye now.